This is the first of 8 videos about Lectica's learning model, VCoL+7, the Virtuous Cycle of Learning and its +7 skills. Here, I'm going to describe the Virtuous Cycle of Learning itself and provide you with a few ideas about how it can be used to optimize learning. The Virtuous Cycle of Learning is a cycle of goal setting, information seeking, application, and reflection. Its +7 skills include reflectivity, awareness, seeking and evaluating information, making connections, applying knowledge, seeking and working with feedback, and recognizing and overcoming built-in biases. We begin with VCoL, the virtuous cycle itself, because it is within VCoLs that we practice and build the +7 skills. There are at least 3 big ideas behind VCoL. The first is a particular way of thinking about learning. At Lectica, we recognize that knowledge is not simply a bunch of facts that are filed away in our brains. It's a vast dynamic network of connections between neurons within and between many parts of our brains. When we make rich connections between what we're learning and what we already know, we're not only more likely to remember what we've learned, but we're more likely to care about it, to be able to put it to work, and to build upon it over time. We call this kind of learning robust learning, and it's the kind of learning lectical assessments are designed to support. A second big idea behind VCoL is that high-quality learning isn't possible unless we set the right learning goals. This means that what we're expected to learn should be just difficult enough to be challenging, but not so difficult that failure is inevitable. There are 2 reasons why this is important. First, and most obviously, if learning goals are set too high, we can't make robust connections. Second, it's when a goal is just right that we're more likely to have fun learning and be motivated to learn more. This is because when goals are just right, our learning efforts produce success just often enough to ensure the release of pleasure hormones called opioids that give us a sense of satisfaction. And these opioids have a second effect. They trigger the release of dopamine, the striving hormone, which motivates us to set another learning goal, so we can experience the satisfaction of success once again. By the way, we call the zone in which the learning challenge is just right the Goldilocks zone, and the dopamine-opioid cycle will repeat indefinitely as long as enough of our learning challenges are in the zone. Clearly, setting learning goals that are just right for a particular learner at a particular point in time is critical for robust learning, and it's one of the main reasons we decided to make lectical assessments. Another important idea behind VCoL is that learning is incremental, in that each new skill or idea we learn is built upon skills and ideas we already have. When we learn naturally, as when we learn to walk, we automatically set goals for ourselves that are incremental. We don't go from crawling to walking in one step. We build the skill over time with practice, experimentation, and support from others, using the feedback from dozens of trials to continuously recalibrate our goals. Let's dig deeper into the virtuous cycle of learning by working an example together. As I've already explained, VCoL is a cycle of goal setting, information gathering, application, and reflection, in which every application of knowledge or skill is a test that serves learning by providing the feedback required to set the next learning goal and start the cycle all over again. It's a cycle that leads to robust learning that produces knowledge and skills we can put to work in the world and that we can build upon over time. The first step is setting a goal, one that's challenging enough to keep you interested and not so difficult that you're destined to fail. Let's say that you just took a lectical assessment and it was suggested in the feedback that you work on building your skills for collaboration, starting with your listening skills. Your mentor provides you with some resources, including a graphic that illustrates 6 components of active listening. After looking over this graphic with your mentor, You decide that following directions isn't really relevant for your situation, but you'd like to build skills for paying attention, looking at the speaker, keeping quiet, asking questions, and visualizing your understanding of what a speaker is saying. You set a goal to learn these skills. The next step is seeking and evaluating information. Fortunately, the feedback in your assessment report included a recommended resource, a book on active listening from the Center for Creative Leadership. Your mentor suggests that you do not sit down and read the entire text, just the parts that are related to the skills you're targeting in your goal. After 20 minutes of browsing through the book, you've read enough to be pretty sure you understand how to apply all of the active listening skills you've decided to practice. So it's time to move on to the application phase of the cycle. For an entire week, you practice your active listening skills every chance you get. Each time, as strongly recommended by your mentor, you take a minute to jot down your impressions of the experience. At first, you just feel awkward and artificial. Coming up with questions is difficult, and you're so focused on keeping quiet that you forget to visualize anything. But toward the end of the week, your notes have changed quite a bit. You report feeling a lot less awkward and finding it increasingly easy to listen quietly and look directly at whoever's speaking. You're also coming up with some good questions and remembering to do the visualization exercises most of the time. The next step in your VCoL is reflection and analysis. As you sit down at the end of the week to review your notes and reflect upon your experience, you realize that what you thought was a 1-week-long VCoL has included a bunch of little mini VCoLs. In fact, every time you took notes after doing a listening practice, you were basically reflecting on your experience and, without even knowing it, resetting your goals. You now understand why your mentor wanted you to take notes. You also realize that you're well on your way to mastering basic active listening skills. However, you know you need more practice with visualizing, and you've had feedback from your mentor that you may need to work on distinguishing clarifying questions like, "I'm not sure I completely understand, can you explain?" from thinly disguised opinions like, "Wouldn't it be better if we went with my original suggestion?" After the analysis of your successes and mistakes, you begin a new cycle by deciding to set a new goal focused more specifically on learning how to ask really good questions and getting better at visualizing your understanding of what's being said. That's it for our example. You'll have to imagine the second, third, and fourth steps of the second week's VCoL. But before closing, I want to take a moment to show you this list of approaches to learning that involve the application of VCoLs. This is only a small sample of the many VCoL-based learning models developed during the 20th century. If you're looking for VCoLing ideas, all of the models listed here are interesting and useful. VCoL is a powerful learning model. It accelerates learning by improving the quality of learning. Our best advice for lifelong learning? VCoL like crazy.